Says Read. Welcome to the channel. And you guys, I want to welcome everyone to a special live stream this evening. We have with us Mr. Michael Knost.
So those symbolisms, the symbolic things that are in there were definitely planned, but I worried myself sick that I was too heavy-handed with it at times, and editors and the publisher and everyone that I talked with said that it was fine, that it was good, and many of them didn't even realize what they were. But everything that I do, there has to be a symbol, there has to be some kind of a meaning to it. It can't just be at the very beginning. Here's a good example. A lot of people may not know this. At the very beginning, he gets a phone call and he's stapling some material onto, because he's a furniture maker working in a furniture company, and he puts the staple gun on the shelf next to a box of, and I went for days trying to figure out what was he going to put that next to, because I wanted it to mean something.
Right.
And it could have been anything. It could have been staples. It could have been whatever, but it was a box of spacers, things that will keep things separated, keep them pushed away. So my symbolism, that I actively tried to do, are minuscule, and they turn out to be, they may not mean anything to anyone reading it, but it means something to me.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I missed that one at the beginning, the box of spacers. I completely missed that one. That's interesting. And I wanted to ask you about, the use of symbolism today. And this is getting into, some of the editing and publishing talk that I wanted to delve into with you. And that is the modern audience, the modern reader, your typical modern reader today. I mean, are they still picking up on symbolism and the richness of that? I mean, back in, our Anglo-Saxon writer would have put, a fruit tree in a story, and everyone who read that or heard it spoken would understand, okay, the fruit tree symbolizes something pornographic's about to happen, and get all excited about that, right? But today, are we noticing symbolism anymore? Are our readers grasping it? And as writers, as authors, how much time and effort and energy should we be spending on planting these symbolic moments?
I think a lot of time, that goes along with theme as well. And I think that a lot of time, I think it's best that if you're creating the story, especially if you are an outliner. And a lot of people talk about the difference between being an outliner and a pantser, which means you're doing it by the seat of your pants, so to speak. And I did a radio program that was for writers one time, and there were about 6 guys, and they asked the question of me, are you an outliner or are you a pantser? And it was like there was a divide among them. Some of them were outliners, some were pantsers. And I said to them, to be honest with you, we're all outliners. I don't care who you are. I don't care what side of the fence you're on. But for those who are the seat of the pants, your first draft is your outline. And when it comes to outliners, your first draft is probably going to be the equivalent of the pantsers' second draft or something along those lines. So, but go back to talking about theme and talking about, those kinds of things. I think that it's best to work out that outline, to work out your story as best as you can. And then you can figure out, because later with me, a lot of times, I can't remember about the wall, if it came in the outline or if it came later after I was working. and then thought, oh my gosh, this would be brilliant, you know. Um, but being able to put it in as it comes, I think what I'm saying is my answer would be to focus on the story
Mm.
first. Make sure that you have a really solid story. And those other things are only going to make that story stronger. Um, and, having a parallel, and I teach a class on this, or I used to, on writing in parallel. And that goes right along with, Ted is building this wall, or he's tearing down this section of this wall so his dying grandmother can look out from her hospice bed and see the roses because she made that comment.
Mm.
Um, and it has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with what's going on inside his heart, and what's going on. And so we're able to kill two birds with one stone without killing any birds at all. And I think that's the beauty of writing, is being able to, you know, create a great story. But then when it comes to theme, when it comes to, symbols and metaphors and all of these other things, um, they just make a better story. Because those metaphors and those things by themselves mean nothing. And that's why you have to have a strong story in order to build it.
And not just talk about the collaborative spirit, but the professional angle of it too. I mean, these are authors who, I mean, the names that you're talking about are some big names in the industry. They're people who know what they're doing and they know how to be professionals.
Right.
So I'm thinking, what are some tips, or what is some guidance that you could give to folks in the audience for being a professional author who can collaborate with an editor in something like this? I think that's the question I want to ask you, is just what guidance can you offer to authors who want an opportunity like that?
Well, one of the great things of all of those books that I mentioned, of the writer's workshop, of horror, horror to science fiction and fantasy, um, the one thing that I loved about those books was the fact that there's no one way of getting to the big stage. And there are a number of ways that you can get there, and there are a number of ways that you can do things. And there are some of those books that one person says one thing and another one says the exact opposite, and neither one are saying this is the way, neither one are saying you have to do it this way, but merely it's a fact of them saying this is how I do it. And so I think it brings a lot of freedom to up and coming writers, knowing that there is freedom, that you can do it, this way. You can do an outline, or you can write by the seat of your pants. Um, and that whole aspect of collaboration was something that I loved and I cherished. I thought really made those books really good, because nobody is saying this is how you have to do it. Everyone is saying this is how I do it, and this is how I've gotten to the stage. And I think that brings volumes to the reader who is trying to find their own path to the stage. But as going back and talking about professionalism, um, yeah, when I first started editing anthologies, it was Legends of the Mountain State. And these were stories based on ghosts and legends and so forth of West Virginia. and I had some great writers in that. But I had people, and they would send a story, and some people, a lot of them were not professionals, um, and then they would get upset if they were rejected or whatever. Or this is the one that always got me, was I would read a story from someone who had never been published, and I'm ready to do their story. I'm ready to include their story, and I would give them notes on how to make it better and what I would like to see, and they throw a fit, and because they think that they have that tunnel vision. Um, and I'm saying this because I don't do that with just up and coming writers. I don't care if it's Stephen King. I don't care if it's Neil Gaiman, whoever it is, they're getting notes. It's very rare that I've ever just accepted something without notes and marking up things. And I can tell you this, though. There has never, ever been an occasion that a professional writer, even, I don't care how big or how much money they make or how much clout that is added to their name, I have never, ever had a professional throw a fit about my notes. We've talked about them. They would come back and they would say, "This is great, man. I didn't see this. I didn't think of it along these lines." And then there were other occasions that, I disagree with you on this, and here's the reason why. And then I would read the reasons, and I would go back and look at it again, and I agree with you. Let's keep it. Let's keep it as it is. So I think really what I want to say is your editor is not trying to make you look bad. We're trying to make you look good. Okay. That collaboration, we're not trying to steal your thunder, because, nobody, there's no place in any anthology or anything, especially with my stuff, that says your byline with edited notes, from Michael Knost. No, it's your story. I just want to make it the best that I can. That's what being a professional is, and that collaboration is. Be humble and go into it with the heart that I want to learn to be better, no matter what it takes.
Duan is asking in the chat if the writers that throw a fit. Do we feel that this is because people, writers generally don't understand the full purpose of the editor?
It could be, but there's so many of them. Something that I have found too is a lot of time you have new writers. When I first started doing the editing and anthologies, every rejection that I made, I would write notes, and I would say, "Hey, I appreciate you, submitting. I'm not going to be able to use this. If you like a few notes, and I would just general notes." And you would be surprised at the number of people who would want to argue and want to fight. And you also have to keep in mind, I've never seen those names again. And what I mean by that, they've never been published, to my knowledge. You never see them again. And the whole concept comes down to, did they want to get better? Was they really serious? Were they really serious? Um, and I think a lot of it is people. I think a lot of it comes down to people expect um, they expect to be good, and and if they want to be a writer, they're going to be a writer next year.
Mm.
And unfortunately, for most people, 10 years is about uh, the process time that it takes for you to learn all of the things that you need to learn and to be able to put them in motion. So I think there's a number of reasons for that. um, and But a lot of my friends, I was in music for many many years as well. I was a studio musician in Nashville for about a year. And you see the same thing with musicians and singers,
Oh,
but for those who uh, for those who are professional and are willing to listen and really listen and put aside, all of their uh, ego and so forth, you can learn, and you will get better. You
oh, I know. I wanted to ask you about a recent anthology that I know of, the Storms of the Brain anthology. Are you able to talk a little bit about that collaboration and how that came about?
Yeah. You've got Nessa. If
Yeah,
she's still watching, Nessa has a couple of stories in that.
yeah.
And basically, what we did was I did a I did a writer's workshop class. It was actually a course, and basically we came in together, and it was a brainstorming session, which was the reason why the name is what it is. And everybody came in. It was online. It was on Zoom, and everybody came in with an idea that they've never worked on before, that they've never done anything along those lines. And all I wanted was just an idea. It didn't have to be a complete plot or anything like that. And so every person has their turn, and they talk about the idea that they have. And then everybody else gets to brainstorm and come up with, well, have you thought about this? Have you thought about, and whenever you get to this point, what if she does this? You know, and every writer turns around going, oh my God, I never thought of that. This is really cool. Which, that's part of that collaboration as well.
Hmm. Hmm.
And everybody, nobody is stealing anybody's works or anything like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
And so um, then they took that, and then we went away, and we came back about a week or so, and we did another one, and they give us an update. Okay, so the idea was originally this, and here's what I'm thinking now. And then we went into another brainstorming session. Oh, that's really good. I love that. You could bring back that one thing here, and you could take this over here. And so you've got all of these people who are chiming in, and they're giving their input. And then we went a couple of weeks later, came back and did it again. So then from that, I told them, write the story. I want the story. And so I loved what they did, what they came up with. Some of these writers are professionals, but the majority of them are writers who've been around a little while, who need to be pushed, and probably the another majority of them are up and coming writers or just getting started. And so you have this eclectic group of people who, wide ranging of the talent and the education and the knowledge of the craft, and how far that the, I guess, levels of polish on the craft, so to speak. And Tony Acree, his publishing company is publishing it, and so
Okay.
I went to them, and we got that set up. And but that is, and now we're looking at, everything is finished, everything is turned in, and it looks Tony promises me it'll be ready for Imaginarium. So we're going to have
Wonderful.
a book signing event at Imaginarium this year. So any of the writers that want to come and take part in that, they can do that as well.
Wonderful. That'll be great. Yeah. I'm excited to sit at a table next to Nessa and do signings. That'll be fun. That'll be
Nessa
cool.
is, I'll tell you this, and my wife will tell you as well. Nessa has come to do a live writing workshop that we do here in our area. We have some cabins at the state park, and I think you're going to be coming to one with
the one in November.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Vandermeer is going to be there, who is a living legend. But Nessa was at one of the workshops, and Nessa is one of these people who has a servant's heart. She is one of these people who is constantly looking out for you and constantly asking, do you need something, and so forth. And she's one of my favorite people in the world.
Jeff Lamar has joined us in the chat. He's a favorite at Imaginarium, and he is saying, we all have a hard time killing our darlings, and that's why we need editors to be brutally honest with us. Having a thin skin about it only serves to make your writing weaker. I agree.
I agree.
Yeah.
And so many times people think whenever you say kill your darlings that they're talking about characters, and it's words. Kill those words that we consider darling. There are times that I will write something, and there'll be something that when I write it, I'm thinking, oh God, this is so beautiful. I love this. I love this. And when I go back into edit mode, it sticks out. And I'm thinking, God, I love this, but it doesn't work. It doesn't fit with everything else. And there was a time that I probably wouldn't do it. But now, if I read something that I love and I feel that way about, automatically, I'm like, I'm going to have to get rid of this. I know that I am. So here's a tip that I do. I have a file that's on my computer, and I keep it on my external drive as well. And it's for all my darlings that I had to get rid of, that I had to kill. They're not dead. I've moved them into another place. And you know what? There have been times that some of that stuff I've got to recycle. And they actually found a place in other stories that it made better sense with, and that it went more along with the feel of the story, so to speak. So, but
there you go, guys. That was worth the price of admission right there. So Michael Knost recommends you have a mausoleum, a folder on your computer for the mausoleum, where you can put in your darlings that you don't kill. You just put them there until you need to resurrect them.
Yeah,
I like that. All right.
You may never use anything from it, but if it makes it easier for you, then do that. With me, it's just I don't like to waste anything. And by the way, I will say this: I'm going to be at Imaginarium. I don't do
that's right.
conventions very much, and that's probably going to be the only one that I'll be doing anymore. And And I'm going to be the Toastmaster
That's
this year.
right.
So
Very good.
I think they've made a terrible mistake by giving the microphone to someone who loves to talk more than the Sunday preacher, you know.
Yeah, it'll be good. You'll keep everyone entertained. It'll be good.
I don't know about that.
All right. Well, Michael, thank you again. I so appreciate you taking the time out of your evening to share nuggets of wisdom with the audience. This was wonderful.